I'm like,
recording in progress.
She's like, I'm coming. It probably helped that it wasn't me doing the training, that we have somebody, an incredibly successful serial entrepreneur that's doing the training. But I told her I was on this training last week. I actually joined a training of Jesse's last week like this. And I was like, wow, like I got all the nuggets to plan the most epic year of my life in 2022 in like 25 or 30 minutes from him. And so I had been corresponding with Jesse to do this for our community. And so whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on the replay, it won't be up long. It's going to be up for a shortened time because this is intended to be a live training with live interaction. And so I'm excited. Welcome to the new year. Happy New Year. I want to let you know that I believe that this is a year where more than ever, we need people to have epic years that don't just impact them, but have a profound impact on the people in their life that they love, that they care for, and that they serve. And so being a hero in your own life is being a hero for two. Like that, there's actually definition of the meaning of being a hero is being a hero for you and being a hero for other people. It's like really carrying the space to be able to do that. And so I'm excited about today because there is a guy and a lady that I have so much respect for. A lot of you know Jesse Itzler because we've brought him for trainings for our community before. Serial entrepreneur, married to an incredible human being, Sarah Blakely, who, as you guys know, they just sold Spanx. It's public a couple of months ago for well over $1 billion. She started it with a backpack, ladies. She started with a backpack. And now all of a sudden, the two of them had this incredible exit. And Jesse has been a serial entrepreneur doing so many different things, including owning jet companies and professional sports teams. And oh, by the way, parents, they also have several kids and they also stay busy. And if you pay attention to them on Instagram, they don't outsource their kids. Like, they're very active and engaged in the lives of their kids. And they pull back the curtain online. If you're not following them, follow them online. And so what do they have? They have a life very similar to us. Like, it's busy, it's crazy, it's chaotic. But the one thing that I see about Jesse, there's two things I have a lot of respect for Jesse in. Number one, he's one of the best speakers that I've ever heard in my life. Because every time I'm around him, and by the way, I booked him on 4 or 5 stages of friends or clients of mine because I selfishly want to hear him speak, because when I hear him speak, I'm better as a result. But the second thing that I love about Jesse, and quite frankly, there's not many people who have this second thing, is the fact that he creates and builds a calendar that aligns with the things that matter most in his life. It's like every year he has the most epic year of his life, for him, for his family, for his community, for people. And today I was like, Jesse, you and Sarah are crazy. You're busy. You're wild. You have crazy lives just like us, probably crazier lives than a lot of people here. But would you come and train people on giving them the framework of having the most epic year that they've ever had? And so for all of you that I don't know what's happened the last couple of years, I know it's been crazy. I know the last quarter of my year, I've lost 4 loved ones. Excuse me, I've lost 3 loved ones. And I found out that my wife's kidney is failing. And so I know I empathize with a lot of you because I hear what's going on in our community. I know there's struggles. I know there's wrestlings. I know it's on my team. I know it's on my community. And listen, I empathize with that. And I know it's been a hard last couple of years. But the reason why we're doing this today is because I want 2022 to be the most epic year that you've ever had. And I could train on it, but I wouldn't be doing the justice that I believe Jesse Itzler will do for us today. And so I'm so excited to welcome my good friend and just man that I have so much respect for, Mr. Jesse Itzler. Are you there, my friend? Are you there?
Yes.
Will y'all give some love? Give some love in the chat. Give some love in the chat, everybody. Come on.
Hey, can you hear me okay, Pete?
I hear you great, man. I hear you great.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm at my parents' house. I hijacked their Wi-Fi. They just today are moving into, my mom, they're in their 90s and they're moving into a new house. I flew down the last 2 days to help them move. And, you know, it's funny. I was just listening to you talk, and you're talking about the sale of Spanx and all this amazing, like, fortune, good lucks, blessings, everything that happened, you know. And money is a really interesting thing before we start. You know, when people think about relationships, you think of it in terms of your relationships with your kids or your friends or people. But very often we don't, you know, we really fail to think about our relationship with time. What's your relationship with time and urgency, and what's your relationship with money? And, you know, one of the gifts of money is it's supposed to make your life easier. You know, period. It's not about buying a Picasso or a Rolls or a Rembrandt. It's like you use it to treat the people that are most important to you. You know, you use it to do good, and you use it to make your life easier. You know, not to put stuff up on Instagram and bang your chest that you have all this money. And my parents are moving, and I didn't even I get an F in this department. I didn't realize, I don't know, I was so busy, that you could hire people to unpack when you move into a house. So I've been unpacking basically 50 years worth of stuff that my parents have kept into their home. So I failed in the make your life easier bucket in this particular case, and as I unpack everything. But thanks so much. It's a great break for me to take some time with everybody. Pete asked me to come in as we head into 2022 and share some of my principles and thoughts around mapping out my year. And it's the perfect time to do that as we head into the first couple of weeks of the new year. And I've invested a lot. I have 4 kids. I have businesses. I have parents that are elderly. I have a lot going on, just like everybody here. My kids have glitches, they come to me with issues, just like everybody else. And people always ask, how do you manage it all? Like, how do you run races and do a business and have time for your kids and this and that? And the answer is very simple. I plan it. I found that if you don't plan things, they usually don't happen. And as you get older, it's really hard to create newness. Like, we live in routine. How do you even bring newness and excitement into your life? So I've really spent a lot in investing in optimization coaches and strategies or whatever. And what I wanted to do is share literally 25 minutes with everybody and walk you through 3 very simple things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just kind of at a high level talk about some principles for 2022. Then I want to share some tips and strategies of things that I've done over the years that have really helped me in optimizing my time and my calendar. And then I want to specifically share my strategy, my system that I use and have used, and everybody can leave here in 27 minutes being able to implement a couple of very simple things that will radically change your 2022. And that's why Pete asked me to come in. And then we'll open it up for some Q&A. Before we do that, quick question, just out of curiosity, could anyone tell me now that 2021 is over, what's one big thing that you achieved in 2021? If you had to just rattle off right away, 2021, I did this. What would your answer be in the chat room? Surviving, growth is a good thing. Anyone running marathons, launch a podcast? What were some big things? Wrote a children's book, PhD. That's a big year. A lot of book writers here. Grew my business, left my job after 20. This is really good. I am a big believer in having something that really defines your year. We'll talk about that in a second. But I also believe that whatever happened in 2021 is done. And many of you who have heard me speak know that I look at my life like this, like a bus ride. And the minute you get on the bus, you wake up and you're born, the bus starts going. And you don't need me to tell you that it goes fast, but all of a sudden you're a senior in college and maybe you meet somebody and you get married and you have a child, and in 8 years, they're 10, and 8 years, you're going to be an empty nester. Like, the bus keeps going. It just keeps going. And it doesn't care if you get sick. It doesn't care if you're lazy. It doesn't care if you take a day off, if you don't want to return a call. It doesn't really care if you lost a deal. It just keeps going. And one day the bus stops and it's all over. This much of my bus ride is done. I can't get it back, including 2021. The good and the bad, it's over. It's good to celebrate that you left your job or you wrote a book. That's amazing. It's done. And I like to say, how do I maximize from today till the end of my bus ride? How do I really, get the most out of that? And that's what I want to talk about today, about how I plan my 2022 to make sure that I squeeze as much as I can out of that window of time. So the first thing I want to do is just cover a couple of quick principles, just at a high level to lay some groundwork. So for starters, I think everybody here has a different goal. We always talk about writing down resolutions and goals, and we'll probably have a lot of goals for 2022. And I just want to say that your year is not defined by the resolutions you succeed in or fail in, or your goals that you hit or miss. Everyone always says, oh, my goals, it's all about my goals. If my goal was to release a documentary, but my parents, God forbid, doesn't happen, get sick, and I have to take care of them in Florida, and I can't write my documentary or run that race or whatever my goal is because I've been put in a position where my goal has changed, that doesn't mean I had a bad year. It just means that my original goal got shifted. Like, sometimes you don't choose your goals choose you. And it's important to remember that the one thing that we all have in common as we think about planning for 2022 is our goal at the end of 2022 is to be proud of our 2022, regardless of the circumstances, regardless what it is. It's about how you show up. And we want to be able to get to December 31, 2022 and look back and be like, whoa, man, I had an amazing 2022 that I'm proud of. Okay, that is the underlining goal. Now, Pete said something up top about Sarah selling Spanx, and I just want to share something kind of, in confidence, not, please don't post this. But a really funny thing happened when Sarah sold her company. She came in that night and I was excited. I'm thinking like, how do you want to celebrate? Like, what do you want to treat yourself to? You want to buy a yacht. Like, what do you want to do? Crazy stuff. And she turned to me and she said these 3 words. This was literally her reaction. She looked at me and she said, I did it. I did it. She felt proud about her accomplishment. And I would say that the one thing here that we all want to do that makes is feel accomplished. And I could just say from experience, having sold, I have the right to say this, I've sold a couple of companies, that the feeling of selling a company is the same feeling you get when you cross the finish line of a marathon, or when you walk an old lady across the street, or when you help somebody. Like, you don't have to sell a company in 2022 or climb Mount Everest to feel accomplished. And if you could figure out how to bottle that accomplishment, that feeling of accomplishment on a daily basis, you're going to have an unbelievable journey, regardless of COVID, income, or whatever. So we want to be proud of our 2022. The second thing is, at a high level, is we want to get as much on our calendar as possible in advance. Why? Because when we get things in that we want to do on our calendar first, it eliminates the random things that come at us that strip us away from those things. The Zoom calls, the weddings, the appointments, the lunch meetings, the things that people put at us that just come at us, that clog up our calendar. See, most of us play life on defense. Our calendars fill up with other people's requests for time. And it's hard to say no. So we look back and we have all these appointments and meetings and obligations, and so little time for the stuff that we love to do. So when you put stuff on your calendar first, okay, as much as you can, and you plan the things that you want to do and they're in stone, your life fills in around that. You plan your life before your meetings. And the third basic principle I just want to talk about is that we're the director of this movie. We get to choose what we do. Nobody's going to tell us what we can't do. We are the director, we're the actor, we're the producer of our 2022. And we want to make it exciting. We want to fill it up with things that we're proud of and accomplishments. Okay, so let's get into, those are some couple of quick principles. I want to get some quick tips and strategies, and then I want to talk about how I plan my year so you can plan your year. All right, the first thing is, I'm a big believer in morning routines. Everybody here has heard about the importance of morning routines. I'm a bigger believer in evening routines. I don't think anybody on this call is good enough to just wake up and wing it. The competition's too good. So I invest about 5 minutes every night, the night before I go to sleep, and I map out my day. 7 o'clock, get the kids ready for school. 8 o'clock, workout. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, call with Pete and his team. 2 o'clock, move my parents into their house. 5 o'clock, basketball practice with my kids. So I just follow the script. I just couldn't imagine waking up and winging life. Like it doesn't make sense. There's too many variables. So invest 5 minutes in 2022, the night before, and prep. Get your day ready. It sounds simple, but it's huge for the next day. Number 2, I used to be a big believer and put a lot of pressure on myself on winning the days. I still do. I mean, I make a schedule and the days are important, but this is how I would think. I'm a runner. This year, I'm going to run 5 miles every day. I'm an author. I'm going to write 10 pages of my book every day, whatever it is. But inevitably, something happens called life. And I have to take my kids to the doctor or something, that I can't run that day or I can't write. And I quit because I'm like, I couldn't even keep my simple goal of 5 miles every day. And I quit. So instead of taking a day-by-day approach, which puts a lot of pressure on you, we have enough pressure as it is, I switched to a week approach and said, I'm gonna run 35 miles this week. I'm gonna write 70 pages this week. So if I miss a day, I have the flexibility and the freedom and not the pressure every single day to make that up. I'll just run 2 more miles the next 2 days and I'll make it up. I'll just write a couple more pages over the weekend and I'll make it up. So thinking in terms of weeks and not days, huge, huge thing. For the parents out there, another strategy and thing that I implement in 2022, I've been doing it for years. I'm never too tired for my kids, period. I'm never too tired for my kids. If my kids want to have a baseball catch and I'm too tired because I've been working or whatever, my life balance is out of whack. That doesn't work. My kids are only going to be 5 for a year. They're only going to be 7 once in their life. So I'm never too tired for my kids. I also don't negotiate my goals. So if I have a goal to get those 50 miles of running in or whatever, and it's raining or it's cold, I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm not dummying down my goal and say, I'm only going to run 3 miles today. A goal is a goal, and it's not negotiable. And lastly, COVID has put a tremendous amount of urgency on everything. It literally, while it had some benefits, like family dinners got increased and certain areas of my life actually improved because of it, it stripped me of a lot of things. Races got canceled, speeches that I wanted to do got postponed or went virtual, and it's really accelerated stuff. And for 2022, I hope everybody on this call appreciates the fact that if you have an opportunity or a chance to create a memory or a moment, take it. Take it. If you have a chance to create something that's going to be a positive life memory, even what I'm doing now, take it. Don't outsource it. Don't blow it off. Don't say, I'm going to do it in 2023. You do it now. So what I'm going to do now, having a couple of tips, a couple of strategies, and a little bit of a foundation of my thought process, I want to walk everybody through 3 things that I do every year that if you do, and do everything the same that you did in 2021, but you do these 3 things, you will have a rock star. You will bear hug me if you see me in an airport at the end of 2022, because you'll be like, man, all I did was these 3 things, and it had such an impact on my life. These are 3 things that I do every year. I take them super seriously, and you can leave and implement them right after this call. So the first thing that I do every year, and I mentioned it a little bit on the top, is something based off of an old Japanese ritual, which is called the misogi. And the notion around this Japanese ritual of a misogi is you do one year-defining thing every year of your life, something so big that it defines the year. So if I was going to ask Gina or Sabrina or anyone on this call, what'd you do in 2012? What'd you do in 2015? What'd you guys do 8 days ago? You probably couldn't even tell me, because most of us just live life in routine. We just cruise through it. But imagine if you could go back and say, in 2015, I released Living with the Seal. 2016, I launched a business called 29 and 29. 2017, I lived with monks. 2019, I lived with Wim Hof. 2020, I ran a 100-mile race. Like if you had one of these things, and imagine if you're 30 and you started implementing this right now, where you did one year-defining thing. By the way, people think like, oh, I have so many goals. I said, what are your goals for the year? And they rattle off like 5 or 6 things. Let me just point out that more isn't better. Better's better. You think having more goals is better? You're wrong. Better goals, bigger goals, more meaningful goals are better. So imagine if you're 30 years old and you said, you know what? I'm going to do that, man. I don't know. It sounds a little hokey, but every year I'm going to do something big. The average American lives to be 78. So let's just say you go to 80. You have 50 years. Imagine if you put from today for the next 50 years, 50 year defining things on top of your work, on top of what's going on into your life. If you added 50 monumental year defining things into your life, it's how you build a life resume. Number 2, I have something I do called Kevin's Rule. Kevin is a friend of mine. He's a police officer in Suffolk County, New York. And I went camping in the winter with his daughter, who was 9, and my son was 9, to Mount Washington. It was snowing. It was minus like 10 degrees out. We slept outside in a minus 30 sleeping bag, zipped up. Snow's coming down. All the stars are out. I said, man, there's 8 billion people in the world. And Kevin, we're the only 2 people out here, man. How often do you do stuff like this? He lights up like a Christmas tree. He goes, oh, man, I have this thing. Every other month, I do something on a weekend that I normally wouldn't have done. So what are you talking about? He said, well, instead of watching the Georgia football game one Sunday, I might take my kids fishing. I might do a cold plunge at the river. I might sign up for a seminar. I might go to a cooking class. I might take my kids to a museum. I go, well, what do you do? He goes, well, if you do 6 of those, one every other month, if you take a Saturday or a Sunday, who can't take one Saturday for a couple of hours every other month? He's like, if you do that, you'll add 6 new experiences that you never had. He said, but if you do that from 30 to 80, right? If you do that for 30 to 80, you'll add 300 new experiences to your life. 6 a year, 50 years. 6 a year from 30 to 70, 240 new experiences. Imagine if you added, do everything the same. Works the same, Zoom calls. By the way, no one remembers Zoom calls. Everybody remembers the trips. Imagine if you had one big monumental event and 6 mini adventures, and you layered in over the next 30 years, and you had, 30 of these amazing things and 180 of these life memories. Unbelievable. And the third thing that I do is every quarter, Pete, I add one winning habit to my routine. I don't drink enough water. I'm going to drink 100 ounces of water every day. I'm never going to be late for a meeting. I'm going to say my prayers in the morning at night. I'm going to add a 10-minute a day meditation practice, whatever it is. So at the end of my year, every year, I have a monumental event. I've added 4 winning habits, and I have 6 mini adventures. And what I do is I take out a calendar like this. This is actually a calendar. I'm visual. This is my calendar. It's called the Big Ass Calendar. It actually talks to you. It has a flow code on it. And this opens up into an entire year at a glance. This is my entire year. And if you can see it, I'll show you a portion of it because it's so big. I have my whole year mapped out. My Masogi's over here, date night with my wife, my Kevin's Rule trip in yellow, my entire year of the things that I want to do is already big. I have an unbelievable 2022. It's done. I just got to follow the script. Now the random things that come at me, of course, I'm going to be spontaneous. Of course, I have flexibility, but the things that I want to do, the one-on-one trips with my kids, the races that I'm going to take, my date night, my trips down to see my parents, my speeches, the important stuff, it's in stone. And everything gets filled around that. So I flipped the model of playing life on defense upside down. I'm in attack mode. And I literally am putting down the things that I want to do first, prioritizing myself and my life before my meetings. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not taking Zoom calls or meetings or anything like that. But the more you experience, listen to me, the more you have to offer. The more you experience, the more you have to offer. And I found that by doing big adventures or things that make me proud and feel accomplished, make me more interesting. They make me more interesting for the people in my office, at lunch meetings, if I'm on a job interview, if I'm up for promotion. It's infectious, it's contagious. It makes me happier at work because something I'm looking forward to is on my calendar. I need that. I need something on my calendar that I can look forward to. And it gets me excited. It gets me through the weeks. It gets me through the tough times. So in a nutshell, just to recap, this is basically what I do. I try to aim for the year that makes me feel proud of my 2022. I get out as much on my calendar as I can as possible early on. I remember, man, I'm in charge of this. I'm directing this movie. And then I think in terms of weeks and not days, longer approach. I plan the night before. All right. I accelerate everything. If I have a chance to make a memory or an opportunity or an experience, I take it. By the way, if you want to have an exceptional life, you got to put yourself in exceptional situations. You have to get out of the norm and the routine and insert yourself, whether it works or not, into things that could be exceptional. All right. I don't negotiate my goals. I'm never too tired for my kids. And then when it comes to my actual nuts and bolts system, and it's deeper, but at a high level, I have a Masogi, a year-defining event. You should be able to rattle off, man, from the last decade. This is what I did in 2010. This is what I did in 2011. This is what I did in 2015. And if you can't do that, start now in 2022. I had a Kevin's Rule trip, 6 mini adventures And by the way, a lot of these don't cost money. Jumping in the polar plunge New Year's on Coney Island, which I did as a kid all the time, cost nothing. The Mount Washington trip I took with Kevin and my son cost $18 to park there. And I had to get a sleeping bag. That was it. That was the whole thing. All right. A lot of these things, like I said, you don't have to sell Spanx. You don't have to climb Mount Everest. And then I add winning routines to my life. And I guarantee you, like I said, not to sound like a broken record, but I'm talking about this not from stuff that I've read, but through experience, years of experience. I have the right to say this at 53 years old because it's worked for me. That if you add a Misogi, these Kevin's rule trips, and you have winning habits, right? And you do everything the same, it is almost impossible for your year to be worse than the year before. It does. How could it? So that's what I do, Pete. And it's been really, really effective for me over the years, especially getting as much on the calendar as I can in advance. And for me, that's one-on-one trips with my kids, date nights with my wife, any other trips that we might take, and any other big life stuff. I have my phone to keep my meetings and keep me on track for birthdays and my day-to-day stuff. But I have this to plan my life. And to me, my life is way more important than planning my Zoom calls. And, think about this. We work 40 hours a week. Think about how much time, right? The average American 9 to 5. Think about how much time goes into planning your schedule, meetings, all staff appointments, sales calls, whatever it is. Like, we're always scheduling that. That's 40 hours. We have 3 times as much time in our life, weekends, after work, before work, etc. Think about how little time we spend planning that. It's out of whack, man. So prioritize yourself in 2022, everybody.
Dude, that's so good. Like, you can hear me, right, Miranda? Like, this is so good. Like, I've got all of these notes right here. And I'm going to ask you, first off, turn on your cameras, guys. We want to see your faces. I'm scrolling through the squares. I can see Jody. I can see Marlene. Like, how incredible is this? That's 30 minutes of training. I promised you 30 minutes of training. There it is. And I took like 7 of it. So Jesse only took 23, which, by the way, is my favorite number because of the greatest athlete of all times, arguably. But he took about 23 minutes to show you how he does what he does, how Sarah does what she does. Like, think about that for a second. That's Pete. Valuable. He just gave us life's golden, like a golden ticket. There's his life playing on the offense right there. That's his life playing on the offense that you see right there. So
this is it.
What's that?
I just want to say, next month I have 6 friends coming up to my house to a farm that Sarah and I have in Rome, Georgia. Right? It would never have happened if I didn't put it down on my calendar. It just wouldn't have. Something else would have come up. I don't want to live my life like that, man. I want to grab life. And it's not hard. It takes a little bit of time, thinking about what you want and then executing.
I freaking love it. Question for everybody. This is an important question. I've got a ton of notes right here. I want to know, what is the most valuable nugget that you've received? Obviously, he's giving you a framework of how to look at the year. And he's also giving you 3 practical things that he says, you do those things, you will bear hug him when you see him next year. So I want him getting a lot of bear hugs. But what was the biggest nugget for you? Like, drop that in the chat because I want Jesse to see that. And I'm going to start by saying my biggest nugget. More isn't better. Better is better. And so all of us right now have these 18 new habits that we want to establish that we set last week. And the reality is we're going to, in 2 weeks, feel like a failure because none of them hit. And I would rather get clear on what is the 4 habits that I want to establish through the course of the year and which one am I focused on in Q1. Better is better. More isn't better. Better is better. That's my primary nugget, like my biggest takeaway. I love playing life on offense and not defense. I love the more you experience, the more you have to offer. The more you experience, you more to have to offer. And the greatest thing that I love is I love that we've got an opportunity for an incredibly successful entrepreneur to share his most valuable resource with us today, which is his time. Like that to me is the most valuable thing that we can give. And so here's my request to all of you. Like this training was so motivating for me like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago when he did it. And we literally, it was one of those things for all of you that gave part of the $1 million that we were able to give to charities. There's several of you that were part of that donation process. If that was you, drop the word donate in the chat. I'm so grateful for you. This is a training to serve you. This was a live training that we promised you that you would get. And a lot of you got invited who didn't donate today. And here's the reason why. I want all of you to plan a 2022 epic year. 2020 and 2021 were hard and they were tough. And here's one thing you can count on every year. Every year, I will urge my community to be a part of Jesse in the way that he does it. And one of the things I'm requesting, Miranda, can you see my screen right here? And this will be quick, and then we're going to take some questions. It's literally 2 slides. You can see my screen, Miranda? Yes?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. I want you and me. I thought this was going to be in the mail today. I just ordered this. Yes, you're seeing that right. I want every single person to get this Bad A calendar. Jesse showed it to you. You get 12 years at a glance. You get 12 on the front. You get 12 monthly calendars on the back. There's a year-end summary. There are weekly motivations that you take your phone and you scan a barcode and you get a motivational talk from somebody who you're going to be surprised at the people who give these motivational talks. It folds to a notebook size, and I've got the space right here on my wall where I will hang it. I'm asking all of you to take action on planning. Yes, you can go to planyour2022calendar.com, and I'm asking you all to take advantage of this. I want you to plan an epic calendar. I want you to be on the offense and a tool for what you're going to spend at Starbucks in the next 6 weeks. Maybe some of you in the next 2 weeks. I see some of you kind of ducking your heads like Brandon's like, that might be my next 2 weeks. I want to encourage you to take advantage of this. It's incredible resource. And this is what I'm going to do to make it a no-brainer for you guys. I want you to own your morning. I want you to own your day. I want you to own your week. I want you to own your year. And next week, all of our accelerators, and these are folks that have invested $25,000 with us, are going to be at our transformation day on the 14th. And we're literally going to walk what I felt called from God, from source, from being to do is to make sure that people understand how to own their morning. And by the way, I'm putting an asterisk on there now, own your evening. Like really putting that asterisk on there. That is one habit that I have done the last 90 days that has been transformational. Everybody talks about owning your morning. Nobody talks about how you own your morning and your day is through your evening. And we're going to look at your day. And here's the most powerful part of this. Every person that's a part of this transformation day, it's going to be 4 or 5 hours. That's it. Jesse will be there to help you map out your calendar. Every person there will have a calendar. So if you choose to get a calendar, that is bonused in next week. And if you can't be there live, if your Friday's already, it's from 1:30 to 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm actually doing it at Grant Cardone's office. He's allowing me to do it out of his offices because my wife and I are going to be in Miami for something special that we planned as one of our, I'm going to call it our Misogi actually for the year. I'll tell you what my Misogi for the year is here in just a second. I'll actually share that as we go in the Q&A, but we're going to bonus this in for any single person that takes advantage of the calendar. And we've already got like 125 students that have taken advantage of the calendar. So what I'm asking you to do is go to, let me see here, you go here to the domain we gave you, planyour2022calendar.com. You go right here. Look, everybody look, Big A calendar. And you order it. That's it. You order it. That's it right there. You can see the entire calendar and all of the perks and all of the benefits. You own that calendar. And next week, I want to make sure that every single person walks away with that calendar mapped out. So you are on the offense. So make sure you go to planyour2022calendar.com. Miranda, make sure you drop that in the chat because I'm taking it off of screen share. Jesse, before we go into Q&A for 20 minutes today, anything else that you would say to this calendar? I know you have it in your hands, but I want everyone in our community who's serious about being on the offense and taking control of their year, I want them to have this calendar every year, not just in 2022. Every year I want them to have this because I see the way that you guys live your lives. And so for a little small, tiny investment to be able to have access to this resource, dude, the first time you showed it to me, I thought, this is so epic, bro. And I asked you to do this. Like Jesse didn't ask me to do this. I asked him because I want my community to have an epic year. So Jesse, anything you would add to the calendar before we take some questions?
I would say two things. One is, I'm 53, Pete, and I've been alive for 53 years, and we don't get that many of those years. You just don't get that many years. So I'm not wasteful with my years, oh, I'll do it next year. Like, I don't live like that. I try to live with urgency. What I like about the calendar, whether it's this calendar, however you plan, I hope you use this, but it's so important to map and to track. And what I like to do is since I've been doing this for a couple of years, I don't like flipping through things. I'm visual. I need to see everything on one page to really get the whole picture. But what I like about this is at the end of the year, I can look back, even if I pull it off my phone and I put it on my calendar and I can see exactly what I did. So I have this that says 2018, 2019, 2020, 21. And I can see exactly what I did. Oh, I went skiing this week. I ran this race. I did this speech. I went with Sarah here. We did dating. And I have where are my gaps? And I think, we do that, right? We track our blood pressure, our weight. We have all these metrics that we track year over year to see which way we're trending, but we don't even track our life. It's crazy to me. So it's been a really good tool for me to say, like I slipped last year. I ran one race. The year before I ran 9. And I didn't even think about it, until at the end of the year, I went through my thing. I'm like, oh my God, all I did was a Clearwater Marathon. I'm like, well, that's changing in 2022. Give me my pen, and that's why map and track.
Dude, I love it. And so guys, I'm gonna officially take us to Q&A. And I love Bill's question. Bill, your question is phenomenal. And I'm gonna show you how to do that, Bill. Like literally, Bill asked the question, how do I get more than one? Like, I think it would be crazy for me and Kim not to have one, but I want Keaton and Mia to have one too. Like, I'm getting one for my 13-year-old, my 12-year-old. I want them to map their calendars. I want them to get into this habit because life puts us on the defense. And I want my kids to be on the offense. I want them to take control of their life. I want them to be able to create their Mustogies, their Kevin's rule, their winning habits. And so, Bill, all you have to do is add whatever number you want, 2, 3, 4, whatever, like 2, 3, 4. That's all you need to do. And so that's it. So go get one for your loved one or go get one for your kids. But I think it's such an incredible discipline to be able to do. So planyour2022calendar.com. Click on the big A calendar up there, order it. And Jesse's team will let us know everybody that does that. And next week we will make sure the whole dedication to Friday, which was, by the way, inspired by Jesse, is owning your year. Now we're going to reverse engineer that and show you how to own your week and own your day and own your bookends, meaning your morning and your night. I think those two are the most important things for me, is my morning and my night. That's what the whole theme is about. But ultimately, it's around owning your year. And so everybody next week, Jesse, will have this calendar. So
I love that. Were
you going to add something else? And then raise your hand if you have a question about this, because we're going to take questions till the top of the hour because we want to answer questions. But Jesse, any final thoughts, or you were going to say something there?
I was just going to say, when we were talking, when I was going through some of these principles, and I mentioned this Misogi, Misogi, you can Google Kyle Korver Misogi. Kyle Korver played for the Atlanta Hawks, and he's a friend of mine, and he introduced me to this concept. So there's a great article about it and the origins of it. But the notion around doing something really big is insanely important to me, And a lot of people say, well, I don't know what it is I want to do. And that's a common thing that I hear. Like, I just don't know what that big thing is that I want to do. And, next week, Pete, I'm happy to share. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that have, gone through this. And some of their accomplishments are incredible. Everything from launching a podcast to stopping smoking to losing weight to, it goes on and on and on and on. But I'll share about 50 of them just so people can get the ball rolling. You know what I mean? To get some ideas flowing if you're stuck. For me this year,
I love that.
Usually mine are physical. That's just what I like to do. So this year I'm doing something called Ultraman in March, but, and Sarah had one last year. She did a thing called Thrive with Richard Branson. She does the same thing. This isn't like I'm making it up. This is what we do. This is what we do. And when you give it a word and a term, it makes it fun and communicate it. It's just like, what's your big goal this year? It's like, I don't want to hear that, man. Goals don't work. Misogis work.
As I hope that you heard him earlier, and raise your hand. I see Sherry has a question. If you got some questions, we want to take some questions.
Yeah.
But listen, did you hear him? He's like, 2015, I lived with the SEAL. 2016, I did this. 2017, I lived with monks. Like, think about getting to the point. This will be the first year that I set a Misogi as a Misogi, and I will be able to look back. And I think because of how meaningful and deep it is, better is better. You're going to be able to name those off for decades and decades to come. And so I'm really, really excited about that. I'm excited about this process. And guys, I'm excited about the calendar, but I'm excited to put nuts and bolts to it next week with like making sure that no person walks away without having a clear understanding of how they're going to own their day, own their week, and own their year.
Pete, let me say one more thing also about this, and then I'll answer any questions. Most of us as humans, the way we're wired, we're reward driven. I know I'm reward driven. I like to be rewarded. I like to be praised. I like to get something like, I'm going to, if I'm running, sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to drink after the mile 5, that's my reward to myself. And there's something about when you have I'll use the Kevin's rule example, right? These 6 mini adventures, maybe you're already doing it. And I just coined it Kevin's rule. Maybe you're already doing 6 or 7 things every year that you just, whatever. But when you have a system and you start checking the box, I just visited my parents, boom. I ran the race, boom. I jumped in the cold water, boom. And it builds incredible momentum when it's systematized and it's gamified in your own head as people that are reward driven. So these things that I'm talking about, there's a little bit of a psychological science behind it too, if that makes any sense, where you're just kind of and you do it year over year, whoa, look what I did over the last 3 years. It's as a business, we take inventory every year, right? At the end of the year, do we hit our numbers? You do a review of your employees, you do an assessment, you debrief. How often do we do that in our life? Never. Maybe for 5 minutes. Tell me about your year. A business can take weeks to debrief and have one-on-one meetings, but we look back on our year and we take 5 minutes. It doesn't even make sense to me. So, I have, again, whether you're calendar, no calendar, I'm just talking human to human. I found, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I found it to be so important to really think about directionally where you are. Now, I know some of us are broken and struggling and hurting, and other of us have sold companies and are great and this and that. But the process is still the same. How do you think you get out of those tough times? How do you think you stay in those glorious times? You have to take inventory and say what works and doesn't work. And I want to say one last thing. Nobody here signed up to be a B- or a C in life. Like, no one wants to be a 7 out of 10. That's a 70. That's a C on a test. If my kid gets a 70 on a test, that's a C. We're not celebrating that, right? Like, nobody signed up to do that. No matter how much good things you put on your plate, you sell a company, you hit the lottery. I don't care how much you wax rich. If you have things in your life that are broken, like you come home and my relationship stinks, man, every night. It doesn't matter how much money or how many victories you have. You're never going to be an A+, a 10 out of 10 if something's broken. So just one last thing I wanted to say, and we'll cover more of this next week, is you got to identify what's broken. I don't want to turn this into a whole long seminar, but next week, Pete, remind me to walk people through the happiness meter. Okay. And we'll identify immediately what's wrong. But you got to, part of the strategy for 2022 is to also fix something that's broken.
Wow.
You know, because you can't be, again, it doesn't matter how great the winds are. If you have a flat tire and you have a Ferrari, you're still going to be like, if the Ferrari's not going to hum, and you want it to hum. So you got to fix the flats.
I love that. So, hey, we've got a handful of questions. Let's take these. Let me tackle one question that's being asked. And by the way, I love what some of you started doing already. Katie said Dr. Gina said I ordered 2. John said I ordered 3. Lynn said I ordered my calendar. Gloria said I ordered 1. Harry said I ordered my calendar. Herb and Linda said we bought 2, second for my husband or his business. So if you've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, let us know. And whoever you're giving it to, make sure they're there next week. Next week, professionally speaking, could be one of the coolest things I've ever done, because we've never helped people understand how to be on the offense and take control of their year. That's what the whole 5 hours are about. 1:30, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, owning your year, owning your week, and owning your day. I'm so fired up about this, guys. So the big question that 7 or 8 people asked, and I'm just going to tackle this out of the gates, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it's important to me. Yeah, there's 2 options there. You can be a part of Jesse's calendar club, and I'll share more about that in weeks to come, just so you know. And that's literally Jesse and his network and his folks coaching you throughout the course of the year in 2022 in the domain of your calendar and your life and the domains that matter most to you in these 3 areas. That's what it is. It's one of the cheapest coaching programs that exist. And if that calls to you, do that. It just so happens that you get a calendar with that. But I'm telling you, MVP, minimal viable product. Get the calendar. It's a no-brainer. Miranda, if you don't have your calendar, you're crazy, Miranda, because I know you're trying to create more experiences this year too. I saw Miranda saying, I need one of those. I need one of those. So that's what I want to say to that, guys, and we'll talk more about that. So, hey, let's bring up Sherry. Let's bring up Miranda. Let's start popping some questions here, because I want to let Jesse go and unpack, because I know he's looking forward to that.
Thank you guys so much. I was wondering, is the calendar club like an every year thing, like 900 a year, or is it a one-time investment? How does that work?
That's a great question. So yeah, so the calendar club is obviously, this is the tool that we use. The calendar club is like, it's the only coaching program that I do, and it's a year program, and it's year over year. But for sophomores and juniors and seniors, it's greatly reduced. Yeah.
Ooh,
and
like
there's
that.
a live
Sophomores,
call.
juniors, seniors. I love
There's
that.
a live call. There's a live call every month. It's a great program. We have guests that come on. We do live breathing exercises. There's cooking classes. It's almost like the learning annex when I was a kid, where we bring in all kinds of experts. But the meat and potatoes is planning your year. And, I hold everyone accountable every month. Everyone declares a Misogi. There's a community Misogi board. It's really good. I mean, I'm super proud of it. And, I just want to say something. Pete said, inexpensive coaching programs. This is the return on investment for me. You can do the math. It's not like, oh, the return on investment for me isn't like, I want to make $1 bazillion off of this. Otherwise it would be $50,000 and I'd be doing what other people are doing. It's that there's nothing in my life that I could do. My accountant asked me this, my family office manager. Family office is someone that runs your family operations. When you get to a level, very often you bring it in-house. And we have that, fortunately. And it's like, why are you doing this? You're doing a call every month and you're on these calls and Pete asked you to do a call. I'm like, go run. Go start another marquee jet or something, you know? And like, I get texts every day from people that like, man, this radically improved my life. That's the return on investment. I can't get that selling airplanes, you know, or Zico coconut water, which I love those businesses. I had those, but so I just love it. And that's why I do it. And I'm proud of it.
Dude, I'm proud of it. I got to figure, I'm like, and guys, there's a great description on that page. Like you can push, it's very easy, calendar club or big ass calendar. Like those are the two options right there. But I'm calling you to take action. Like guys, it's like $99. And I know life can throw you curveballs, but I also know that when I was making $18,000 a year as a youth pastor, I know how I would waste $99. And to put you on the offense, or some of you, like, I just bought this for my twins. Don't have your twins go through it next week. Like, have them there next week. Like, make sure that they're there. Like,
and one thing we do, Pete, you mentioned it, but you know, there's a flow code on the back. You just hold your phone up to the flow code, and every Monday at 12 Eastern, we post a new thought, in, you know, motivation, strategy, whatever, from myself and others. Sarah jumps in. Sometimes it's a smoothie recipe of the week. I mean, it's just a variety of stuff. Like the $99, I get it, but there's a lot of value in this. And I appreciate you even bringing this up. I didn't know you were going to get into all this detail, Pete, but that makes me I really appreciate you doing that, man. I didn't expect all that. And that was really cool of you to do.
I got to tell you a story. Last week, I'm on the training. Check this out, everybody. I need you to hear this. This is like when you're convicted about somebody, there's no planning to this. Like we're getting the page up and running like 20 minutes before today. Like I'm talking with Jesse's team yesterday because
I called you at 12:30.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting massage because that's one thing that's important to me is taking care of my body this year. And I will share my Masogi. I will share all of my Kevin's rules, all of that next week. Like you'll see my calendar. But Jesse's doing the same training with his community. And I'm like, dude, you're not even talking about the calendar of the club. And I text him, I'm like, let me in there and let me reinforce what you just shared because you didn't even let them hardly know about the calendar of the club. And I was about to ask my massage therapist to leave the room if Jesse texts me back so I could turn on my camera. Why? Because being around him the last 2 years, I've established a friendship and a relationship with him. And being around him, dude, this is not about the money. It's about the fact that he's helped me think experiential more. Yeah. Like if I could tell you what I'm doing in 2022 to create experience, my wife is on this call. I see her on it. Like the things that we've done to plan our year according to the training that he's just given you, but it's been my last 2 years. And the catalyst to that for me, I had to be the one to do it, but the catalyst was Jesse. Like being around Jesse, I see the way that he experiences and lives his life. He was with Wim Hof. And I'm like trying to figure out how to do better Wim Hof breathing. And so like, guys, I just want you to know, like, I'm convicted about this for you. This doesn't make any what of an impact from Jesse's standpoint financially, but he's got to what people pay for, they pay attention to. Like, I really believe that with my heart. And so Jesse, like, true story, right? Like I text you, I'm like, dude, I will, because he did the training and I was like, dude, just so passive with it. And I appreciate that about him, but I'm also convicted about his methodology, like so convicted about it, bro. So.
No, thank you. Thank you.
How about Miranda? Let's go to Hedgeford in Berkeley. Is that right?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Martha. First of all, Jesse and Pete, thank you so much for putting this on. It's absolutely incredible. Quick question for you. I was wondering, do you have any resources that you could fire off to kind of kickstart our optimization? Because I'm a true believer in planning and scheduling and everything like that. And I find that I do that really well in work, but I'm still exhausted for time with my kid. And so I feel like I'm probably not using my time as efficiently as efficient people really do. So do you have any books or podcasts or anything that you could suggest that really could kind of kickstart that I could read, listen to in time for next week, just to kind of like get going on it? Because I never even thought about things like an optimization coach. I didn't even think about that, you know, somebody
Right.
like that, or who would be good for that, or maybe I should read a book about it. I don't know.
It's so funny because I think the person that came to my life, like I coined them my optimization coach. They weren't even an optimization coach. You know, what I like to do is first of all, I like to get everything out of my head onto paper, because I feel like we all carry so much in our head, and it uses a lot of energy. So I have one notebook that I use that's just a brain dump. Everything goes down, whether that's I have to get a birthday present for my my son's friend, or I have to plan a trip, or it's a business appointment, whatever. Now that doesn't mean it's done. It just means that it's freed up creative energy. I only have a certain amount of bandwidth.
Yeah.
We only have a certain amount of bandwidth. So when I get it out of my head, it clears up the bandwidth in my head. So the first thing is I have a very simple 2-notebook system. One's a brain dump of like everything. And some people put it in their phone. Everyone has a different method. You can't change people's habits. If you like to write it, you write it. If you like to speak it, you speak it. And then the other thing is like my day and my week, you know, I break it down. So that's just very, very in the beginning. I don't know really what books, I'm sure you could Google the best planning systems. You know, some people say only take calls on Thursdays and Fridays and have the same schedule every day. And there's all kinds of things, and you really have to figure out what works best for you. But let me just say this. As you have, how many children do you have?
Just one.
And how old?
She's almost 2, about 22 months.
Okay. So you have some time before you have to worry about whether the guilt between, am I spending not enough time?
It's real. I literally had her on a Thursday and was working again on Friday, and I'm exhausted. I'm working 24/7. The business is exploding, but it's that pull. Like, I want to spend time with her, but I'm exhausted, and then I feel guilty. Which one do I choose? And I am so in awe of how you balance both, and I cannot even imagine like how much you balance. But I need to figure it out. I need to be better at this.
You start to plan it, and I'll say the guilt never goes away. Even you always say, "Could I do more?" You can never over-index in spending time with the people that are most important or doing the things you want to do. But I also recognize that people do have to put in 20-hour days sometime, and that's okay. But you still have to make time on the other side as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's just a balancing act.
Yeah, and I'll say 2 quick things, because this is the huge thing for me. Like, so the science comes out, like arete, like becoming the best version of yourself, has to do with like really encompassing your virtues. And there's science and data out that I've studied a lot in the last year, that the number one virtue that allows us to close the gap on the full version of ourselves is actually zest, which is also known as energy. And so energy literally is the number one virtue that allows you to close the gap, scientifically speaking. Like, if you don't have energy, it's hard to demonstrate it in work and in love. Like in work and in love, when you don't have energy. And so one of the things I'd really encourage you to do is just pay attention to, like, there are things that can really optimize energy. And when you optimize energy, I believe you optimize your life. And so I'm literally on a journey. Like, my wife and I are out in Miami for the purpose of actually health, but also energy. I'm spending the entire week with Gary Brecka, who is a company that Grant Cardone just made a major investment in, all around my health and around my energy. So I want to say that to you. And the resource to me that is the most, I use it every day. It's called optimize.me, optimize.me. And it's a guy by the name of Brian Johnson. And it's like $99 a year. And the amount of resources that he has in there to help you optimize your life in every domain is so incredible. I listen to him every day. So that's a resource that I would really encourage you to do. Hey, let's just take a couple more, because Jesse's got a pack. Let's go my Scott. Good to see you here. Let's go with Scott, man. Let's go with Scott.
Hey guys, so good to see you. I always have to say one thing. Just want to say how much I appreciate Pete always. You're a true star, true heart. And Jesse, man, you taught me. You just really brought me to life around care the most, man. That always stuck with me. So I appreciate you, man. And your zest for life. Damn, I'm 62, so I'm just getting started because I didn't have that damn calendar before. So, but I got energy, so I'm optimizing that like crazy. So one quick thing, or a couple quick little tidbits here around your planning. Did you know you were gonna like live with the seal and do the monk? Did you know all that ahead of time? So, or did that happen in real time? And if you hit one of those big goals, do you ever get to a point where you start doing like a monthly one, like a monthly Misagi, or how do you work that kind of stuff and different experiences like that?
Yeah, I mean, I encourage everyone to start with, I'm going to ask the second part first, to do one, because I think one of the reasons why many people fail in their goals is they pick too many and they spread themselves out, or if they complete them, they don't complete them as good as they could have. I'll give you an example. Oh, yeah. I ran the New York Marathon, but I also did a documentary and wrote a book and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. How many copies did your book sell? How'd your documentary do? And how fast did you run the marathon? If you would have just ran the marathon, I bet you could have ran it 20 minutes faster. If you just did the book, maybe it would have been a New York Times bestseller. Like, again, it's not about more. It's, in my opinion, I have the resources and my gift is bandwidth. I have really good bandwidth. I can juggle. I'm 80. I have to, I can't pay attention. I need a lot of balls in the air. Everyone's different. So I'll tell people to start with one. If you knock it off out of the park and you can complete another big goal, good for you. But let's get one right first. So that's the first thing. As far as no, I did not. A lot of things that have happened in my life that had the biggest impact were not planned. Now, I'm not contradicting myself. You still need a plan. But a lot of things, opportunities, like I said, if you want to be exceptional, you have to put yourself in exceptional situations. So the living with the seal thing, spontaneous lunch meeting, do you want to live with me? It was that on the spot. Living with the monks, I went and lived on a monastery, for those that don't know, and I lived with a Navy SEAL. But that I was just thinking to myself, I asked myself a lot of questions, Scott. And I was asking myself, I was saying man, I really invested a lot in the physical side of my life. I run races and this and that, neglected the spiritual side. That's just what came into my head. I'm like, how do I jumpstart that? And I'm an immersion guy. I learned best by immersing myself in stuff. So I'm like, who are the masters? And it was of spirituality. And it's monks. I'll go live with the monks. And 2 weeks later, literally it was in motion. So I don't like to, and a lot of times, if you give yourself too long, you talk yourself out of it, And my entire career, someone asked me this in an interview yesterday, is based off of one word and one word only. And it's not genius. It's definitely not good looks. It's not charisma. It's not inheritance. My dad owned the plumbing supply house. It's none of that.
Yeah.
It's enthusiasm. I've been incredibly enthusiastic about, and you could probably hear the enthusiasm even today on this call.
I've been watching you and reading all your books for a long time. You are full of
I'm enthusiastic.
Yeah.
I didn't even know John Gordon had a book called that, but it's that's it. So if I'm and let me just say this, and I know I want to be mindful of everyone's time here. They say to people, pick one word every year. What's the one word that defines your year? Great exercise. And for some people, that's spontaneity, newness, change, adventure, who knows? For me, for the last 3 years, I've done that exercise, and the word has been the same for the last 3 years. And Scott, the word is soul. If I'm going to do something, I'm putting my soul into it, man. If Pete comes and says, hey, will you jump on here? I'm not going to half-ass it. I'm going to put my soul into it. My parents want me to unpack. I'm putting my soul into it. And whatever it is. Now, of course, I'm not 100% at it. But if you're not going to put your soul into something, man, why even bother? Why waste your time and everybody else's time? I always say to my kids, don't waste my time. You want to go to swim practice, swim your hardest, or don't even go. Don't go. You want to sign up for basketball, hustle the hardest. Only one person can be the best. Only one person can be the richest. Only one person can be the best looking, but anyone can try the hardest. You know, I want my kids to care the most. Go out there and show everybody you care the most about what you're doing.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah,
Brent, hey, thank you. Hey, hey, let's do last one here. Claudia, go ahead.
Hi, this is more of a testimony for both of you. I got to learn about the two of you back in 2019 when I went to the Grand Cardone Sales event. And that's why I'm here. I love both of you. And the biggest thing that I got from this, because I did your first program, the Build Your Life Resume, it was all about having life experiences. And every year, that's how I started my year. Like 2019, I ran my first marathon. And every year I have like a new goal of like, what do I want to, sorry, that's my dog. Okay. What do I want to experience? And I just got so much out of you, like creating new habits. Last month, I was like, I need to get back and create a new habit because I want new things in my life. And one of the new experiences being here in the Pete Vargas program because I want to up level and be better at what I'm doing. So I'm glad that I got to learn about you too and to be here.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, Chris, you have a question? Let's go. I want to get one last question. And Chris, thank you for that testimony, Claudia. Appreciate it. Chris, you got a question?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
go
yes.
ahead.
Hey, thank you, Jesse and Pete. Listen, getting back to the Misogi, do you ever have the situation where you've done a Misogi in year one, and then in year two, you're trying to outdo that Misogi? Are you trying to get better every year, or your Misogi's just, for me, in my situation, that Misogi's great. It's in a vacuum. I don't have to compare it to anything else. Or are you continuously trying to exceed and excel what happened last year?
Wow. Good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to exceed what you did last year, but I like to build this way. So I always try to look for something new. I don't like to go back. Like, I don't like to move. I would never move back to where I grew up. I did it. You know, I'm not going back to Roslyn where I grew up. So I look for new things. Now, let's use, keep going back to running, but if my Misogi was to run an ultra marathon and I did it in 24 hours, and then the next year I want to go back and do it in sub 20, nothing wrong with that, you know? But, and sometimes I do that, but usually I look for newness because it just gets me more excited. And like I said, like, I love having a breath, and I don't mean this obnoxiously. I mean this in an incredibly, like, just honest way. You want to talk about ultra running? We can do it. You want to talk about business? I sold a couple of those. You want to talk about parenting? I might not be the best, but I can have a conversation about it. You want to talk about fasting? I've done it. You want to talk about cold water therapy? Let's go. Like, because of all these experiences, you can have all these different conversations. And it's such a powerful tool. And I just want to say this too, Chris. You know, I've really been living this way. I slept on 17, 18 different friends, put me up couch to couch to couch from 19 to 23. I talk about it, you know. I wasn't homeless, but that's like I was bouncing around, figuring it out, you know. And I still, early on, we're going to the conferences, going to the free events that they offered in New York City if someone came to speak, you know, like really trying to. There's an old saying by Gandhi, learn like you're going to live forever, live like you're going to die tomorrow. And that's how I try to live my life, man. I like to learn and I like to live.
Dude, that's a great quote. Hey guys, will y'all give some love? I want to let him get to his, and I'll close this out today. Will y'all give some love to Mr. Jesse Itzler? Yeah! Give it up. Jesse is awesome, dude. I can't wait to plan with you, you know, plan my kids plan their year, my wife plan their year, me plan the year. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And dude, thank you for being here today, man. It's meant the world. And I've already told you, next year, let's do it even bigger, bro. Let's do this bigger, because I think more people in this world need this specific thing, bro. So
No, I appreciate you having me, Pete. As always, man. Thanks for thinking of me, and I'm glad to be able to share with your community, man.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Hey, well, have fun unpacking, man. Have fun unpacking. Guys, give some love to Jesse, man. Give some love. Drop him some fire in the chat. And man, I'm so grateful for all of you guys. Just so grateful for you being here. I wanted to do this training because I was inspired by it. It was really, number one, it was a training that we promised the donors, the people who invested in themselves. You're not donors, you invested in a product or service. And we redirected all the profits back to charity. So it's not technically a donation because you got resources like today. So this was for them. It's one of dozens of things you got. But then when I heard the training last couple of weeks ago, I was like, I have to invite our entire community to this. Like, just have to. It's just too good. And it's too valuable. And so I really want to encourage you, like, a $99 investment for 99% of you is not a challenging thing. It's not. For 1% of you, it might have you not be able to pay rent or eat food. Don't do it. What Jesse gave you today, you can go get a physical calendar and go do what he told you to do today. But this is one of those places where I'm like, man, come on, go to planyour2022calendar.com. Get that calendar. Our hope, let me tell you, our hope, and it won't happen for everybody internationally, and for some people domestically, it might or might not, but our hope and intention is to have the calendar to you, most of you, by next Friday. And if not, please don't be the person who's like, I didn't get it. Just map it out a different way and then transfer it to the other calendar, okay? So can we promise that? But what we're doing is we're leaving this open until Monday. And why? Because we have to then get you all of the details to be able to show up on Friday. So Monday sometime, I don't know what time, I think it's 5 Pacific, is when the calendar doesn't go away, but the added bonus of being at Transformation Day next week goes away, because we have to onboard you to come to Transformation Day. Transformation Day is completely virtual because of what's happening in our world. And I'm stoked about it. It could be one of the coolest personal development things that I've done, and I haven't seen done in this space. Own your week, own your day, own your week, own your year. That's the theme. It's even up-leveled since being here with Jesse today. Why? Because I want you to own your day. I want you to own the morning. I want you to own the evening, and I want you to own the stuff in between. And I'm going to show you exactly what I do to own my day. And I'm going to bring some subject matter experts in who own their mornings and own their nights. And then I'm going to help you understand how to outline your ideal week. That's you. That's your story. That's your narrative. And then Jesse's going to step in there and help you really plan out and map out your year. That's what we're going to do next Friday. And so I've asked Jesse's team on Monday to get us the list of everybody who's purchased a calendar, because we're going to make sure, Miranda will make sure that you get an invitation to next Friday to be there with us. It's going to be an epic 5 hours. If you can't be there live, it will be recorded next week. And this training will be up until Monday. It's done on Monday. It'll be up until Monday. It's a live training, but we want to give people the ability to be able to watch it. So guys, happy 2022 to you. Happy New Year to you. I'm so grateful that I have friends like Jesse that will take time. Like Jesse and Sarah are billionaires, guys. And the intimacy that we got with him today, I love who he is. Great to see you, Dr. Sally. I love seeing your face all the time. So make sure you go to planyour2022calendar.com. If you're still here with us and you got your calendar, drop that in the chat. I want to know that. I want to know that you got it one more time. Happy New Year to all of you. And we will see you. Wow, we got some calendar clubs. I love that. Congrats on that. That's incredible. We will see hopefully the majority of you next Friday with us at Transformation